not in beating outside forces, but in controlling our own feelings. This advice is more important than ever in today's world. Have you ever felt that? Drained of negativity after dealing with someone toxic can throw off our mental health, making us feel angry and helpless. But what if there were useful ways to deal with these tricky dynamics? In this article, we'll talk about 13 of them. This video has thoughts that were inspired by Stoicism that will help you deal with. Come with me on a trip to find toxic people who are kind, gracious, and even strong. Take care of your mental health and listen to the channel for more tips on how to become mentally strong. By the end of this video, you'll have a lot of Stoic knowledge to use. Take a big breath and let's talk about how to deal with toxic people. In the first place, find and understand the harmful threat. 1. Finding the toxic threat and understanding. Take a moment to picture yourself as a guard at the door to your own inner citadel of peace. This stands for your mental safety, as well as your physical health. Citadel, without a doubt, that being aware is the first line of defense in the same way that a watchful god has to watch over this fortress. Able to spot possible risks, you need to be able to spot the signs that someone is poisonous. Epictetus, a Stoic scholar who believed in his enodin, reason and self-control, tell us that it's not what happens to you that bothers you more than anything else is your opinion of. No matter what, this piece of advice is very important to remember. When working with poisonous people, it's not always the case that their behaviors and thoughts that are meant to trick you can have an effect on you. What effect these things have on you depends on how you feel about them and how you think about them. No matter what, they have an effect on your sense of inner peace. Learn how to keep a calm look. That is, keeping cool and looking at things objectively is the key to be successful. You need to learn to spot the signs of dangerous behavior. As a necessary step in this process, here are some important danger signs. Someone who is constantly being criticized may find there is always something wrong with your behavior or the choices you make, even though this criticism, no matter how direct or indirect, it will always make you feel down and unsure about your skills. Toxic people often use dishonest methods to get what they want. In order to stay in charge, they have to reach the goals they have set for themselves. Because of how you've been acting, they may use compliments, guilt trips, or even threats. A toxic person seems to thrive on negativity. Someone who is toxic thrives on negativity. They are always complaining and putting other people down with their negativity so they can think about the worst things that could happen. Some other aspects of the problems they're worried with in addition to these. In general, there are also a few different kinds of toxic personalities that you should be aware of. A narcissist is someone who is always trying to get other people to like them, adored all their lives. It's possible that they're charming at first, but in the end, they only talk to each other once, which makes you feel. The rumors say that this person lives a life of social chaos and is mentally worn out. It is known that they spread lies, cause trouble, and enjoy doing so. People call this person an energy vampire because they cause problems with other people. The power to drain your energy, as the phrase says, encounters with them leave you mentally and emotionally worn out, and mentally and emotionally drain the growth of a mental. You can make a picture of the possible threats that could reach your inner citadel by first getting and being aware of the many toxic characters and the things they do. Show things in the same way that a Roman Stoic philosopher like Seneca might have planned to fight an enemy on the battlefield, that you can use your recently gained knowledge to guess the strategies that might be used by dangerous people and come up with a plan to protect your emotional happiness. Number 2. Build up your walls and put yourself in Marcus's place. 2. Build up your walls. Aurelius, the famously calm ruler of Rome, in order to run a large empire, needed to have power, understanding, and a firm will. Drive to build up the walls of your inner citadel, which is also known as your emotional health, and these other qualities are definitely important for the setting up. The limits you have are what this citadel is built on. When you're working with toxic people, boundaries are the clear lines you draw in the sand to show them where your lines are. Figure out what kinds of behavior you will and will not tolerate. You shouldn't let irritating people in on your emotional turf in the same way that a strong king would not let his limits be crossed. Stoic philosophy, which stresses how important it is to use your head and keep your cool before you take the first step. What hobbies drain your energy or go against who you think you are? The constant gloom that a friend shows when a coworker does, being deceptive, or having a family member give you unwanted advice can make things worse. Make sure you are honest with yourself about the things you can't stand. Once you know what your limits are, the next step is to make them clear and easy to understand. As Marcus Aurelius said, be firm while still being fair to help. These are some tips for good communication. Think about how you are, how you're feeling, and what you're seeing instead of making accusations. Words like, you're always being so negative. You could say something like, I'm worn out when you're always. Pay attention to the bad things. Be as detailed as you can, and be careful not to. Don't say something like, I need some space, because that could lead to confusion. You should say something like, I'm sorry I can't talk right now, but I'd be happy to talk later this week. Keep your word, but be careful. Being aggressive and being kind at the same time are not the same thing. It's important to make your point with confidence and avoid anger without coming off as hostile. Setting limits with your hand is not a one-time thing when it comes to. When you set limits, you need to be strict and steadfast like a hermit. A leader who is always on the lookout for barbarian attacks. A wall that isn't stable is very easy to break down if a poisonous person crosses your boundaries. Using calm language, you should inform them of the line that has been drawn. You may even need to limit your interactions with the person or leave the situation altogether. Keep in mind that building limits aren't meant to punish someone. They're meant to keep you safe. A strong fight was fought against envy, a sin that often leads to harmful talk. The Stoics dodged this by setting limits on what they would and would not do. Instead of being selfish, you are just protecting your mental health and making the room you need to find inner peace. In the context of your calm road to a peaceful life, a strong citadel that has boundaries that are clearly marked and well protected is an important part. 3 stops being interesting to the emotional barbarian. 3. Stop being interesting to the emotional barbarian. Think about a fiercely emotional barbarian who is pessimistic and wants a dramatic ending. Conflict. There are some poisonous people who act this way. They count on pay close attention to how you feel, and their negativity feeds on that. In order to get a reaction, a spark of anger or pain that will fuel, they keep adding insults to their fire to poke fun at the strong beliefs of controlling emotions and not caring about outside stimulation. These songs gave rise to the gray rock method, which really shines in this. Paul Friedman, a therapist, came up with a method called the gray rock method. It is a plan that involves being less open mentally. It's not about shutting down all the way. It's about giving the emotional the same as a smooth gray rock, a surface that is neutral and won't bend, and which doesn't give the bad anything to hold on to. In order to help us understand this method better, let's look at some wise words from Seneca. A. The great Roman Stoic philosopher Seneca says that real happiness lies in. This is a warning that we should enjoy the present moment without worrying about the future. We need to stop wanting respect from people who are harmful most of the time. Whether they are good or bad, the gray rock method stops them from. They are having the emotional reaction they want in the middle of the storm that they're trying to make you boring and uninteresting like a rock. Responses that are neutral act as your shield. The gray rock method involves getting back at negative statements with true but neutral comments on. To achieve this goal, it is important to stay out of heated arguments or reasons. If you have a bad friend who insults your work, can stop them by saying, "That's interesting," but you don't have to give them anything. Giving negative people more fuel to fuel their anger. Poisonous people often try to keep your feelings in check, so it's important not to get sucked in. If someone gets too far into the emotional vortex, they might use snark, guilt trips, or even just being mean. The most important thing in this case is to stop interacting with them. From their emotional vortex, stay calm and answer in a factual way. Unwilling to get involved in their drama, it's important to stay out of their way. Keep in mind that Seneca says the way to real happiness is not to amuse. We fill ourselves with hopes or fears, but you shouldn't do anything to them. That they are looking for the gray rock method is a strong tool, but it is not a replacement for a miracle fix. It's possible that some toxic people they will act worse at first, putting your mental rock to the test. Be calm, stay the same, and remember that you are not to blame for the you can stop being a passive subject of their negativity as they show it, of their emotional theater into a spectator who isn't touched by using this method that is based on Stoicism. This will protect your inner peace and fourth mental health. The broken record 4. The method of the broken record technique. Imagine being manipulated all the time. A poisonous person who is breaking down your walls with false arguments when someone is being sexually abused for a long time. It can be physically and mentally draining. Don't be afraid of bad things that happen, but the Stoic ideals of unshakable. The broken record was written with reason and persistence in mind. The broken record is a method that can be used as a strong defense. A method is a plan that was made to fight deceptive tactics. It means carefully repeating a clear statement about your position as a broken record plays over and over again the same message this way. Something that seems pretty simple has the ability to be very powerful in fending off attempts to sidetrack you, and keeping your full attention on your Epictetus, a Stoic scholar, is one of the most important figures in Stoicism. Philosophical reasons. Let's look into this method more by drawing. The term, freedom is the only good, was chosen by him to show how powerful fortitude. This freedom includes the freedom to set your own limits as well as the freedom to say no, without giving a reason. This important rule is as shown by the broken record method. You can show off your resolve to stay on track and stop the trickster from taking you off track by restating your point of view in a calm and persistent way to protect yourself from emotional threats. In order to get the upper hand, manipulators often use mental techniques. They could try to get what they want from you by using charm, guilt trips, or even anger. Get you to do what they want. With the help of the broken record, you can avoid these emotional attacks. With this method, you can stop them from trying to control your feelings and stay on the right side of the fight by focusing on what you can prove. Repeating your point over and over can be very unsettling to The reason for this is that repeat is seen as a form of defense. It breaks up the flow of their talk, throws them off, and shows where their arguments are weak. Bring to light picture a very strong wave hitting a rock. The rock doesn't move at all, but the wave goes away in the end. But the broken record method does not involve confrontation, despite what most people think. Something that is important is staying focused on your stance while setting limits in a calm way. It's important to remember that Stoicism puts a lot of weight on reason and logic as the guiding principles for dealing with the problems that life throws at you. Because you use this method, you give yourself the power to fight. Abuse and protect your inner peace with firmness. Number 5. Don't take the hook. Picture a skilled fisherman who is 5. Do not fall for the bait. Purposely putting out a line with negative thoughts to try and catch you in any kind of whirlpool. They use insults, threats, or guilt trips to stir up emotional drama. In order to get a response that will add to their excitement and feed this is what many poisonous people do. They focus on the bad things. But the Stoic philosophy has a great argument, and it's called indifference. This is not the same thing. Being mentally cut off from something is what apathy means. One thing that the Stoics, especially thinkers like Epictetus, they said that apathy was different from indifference, and that apathy was a state that, this word, indifference, means not caring about anything and being bored. On the other hand, means being separate from the bad thoughts and feelings that cloud our judgment. For their own reason, this difference is really important when working with toxic people. Here's why Stoic neutrality can help you avoid going for the watch out for drama bait and know the plan. The first step is to know the strategy. Familiarize yourself with the signs that someone is harmful, is trying to get your attention. What is it? Is it a satiric comment, hidden insult, or a guilt trip that looks like a proposal by the time you know what the plan is and have somewhat put it into action? The bait is meant to make the other person react with anger, irritation, or defensiveness, but it doesn't work. You need to get away from the emotional hook. Cold indifference, on the other hand, is a choice that lets you stay mentally detached from the bad parts of the situation. Think about what would happen if you couldn't take the bait that is. As you hang in the water and look at it, you stay calm and unmoved by the power. It has to you let the drama go when you don't answer their messages. When people say mean things about you, they have less power over you. Because of a lack of fuel, the story they are trying to create can't last. Since they didn't get a reaction, their harsh comments are still up in the air. It's not necessary to turn into a cruel person when they lose their power. And heartless machine, Stoicism encourages people to show their feelings on the other hand. On the one hand, it stresses getting away from negative feelings that you are not being able to control your thoughts and directing them toward things you have the power to change yourself from an observer of their story to by adopting Stoic indifference, you can be a peaceful observer. Show them that you don't want to get caught up in their emotional web. It's your own inner peace that as long as there is a safe place that isn't touched by the storms that others are, try to come up with number 6, the art of the 6. The art of not reacting. Picture someone who is a verbal gladiator, someone who is a master of who loves the heated back and forth of a fight and lies a lot. There are some nasty people who live in this world. They use words as weapons to hurt others, making you angry, making you feel bad, and then drawing you into the emotional world shown here is a Stoic approach that is not only successful but also often overlooked, the art of the not reacting when used in a planned way. Silence has the ability to, by making a disturbance, it works well against the deadly verbal attack. When they want it, it takes away their weapons and makes them incredibly quiet. Is not something that everyone naturally wants to do. To protect ourselves or win an argument is something we do all the time. Stoicism, on the other hand, teaches us how to feel for ourselves. Understanding the role of master doer and how we respond, and staying still at the right time, shows that if you want to get a better idea of how strong the non-reaction is, let's look at the works of Marcus Aurelius, the famously Stoic Roman emperor, who put an end to. When people who are toxic dance, they often fall back on a routine that is, they sound negative and expect a reaction from you, which is something they always do. You are making things worse for them when you show anger, irritation, or defensiveness toward them. This pattern gets thrown off by toxic dance having no response, being unwilling to give them the emotional reaction they want by, for a moment of silence. Picture a tennis player hitting their racket at an empty court. Their huge serve hits the ground hard, and that's the end of the match. From this point of view, silence is not empty. It's a way of talking. That says something without words. This shows that you have a high level of self-control and that you don't want to take part in their bad behavior. The action sends a message of strength and not caring about the way they are trying to get you to feel bad about yourself is important. To remember that Marcus Aurelius told us not to argue about what any longer. Being a good man should be one of the traits of a good Stoic, shown by how quiet you are. You are calm, fair, and unaffected by the provocations from the outside world. Get ready for the escalation. It's important to use a planned response when using the non-reaction. Whenever possible, at the start of a harmful person may get worse. They are trying to get the other person to respond by insulting them even more. Keep your cool. It's important to remember to keep your cool and stay calm in your quiet. That being quiet is not a sign of weakness, but a strong tool that people who are really strong use non-reaction, but it's not an answer that can be used in any scenario and is a key part of your Stoic stance. Armory. It can take away the weapons of poisonous people, protect your inner peace. Show that you can control your feelings when they get the best of you. When you choose to be quiet, you send a strong message on its own. Itself because you don't want to play their game. Number 7. You should limit your 7. Protect yourself. Exposure. Picture yourself in your walled citadel, where your mind is safe. Health is being carefully protected by strict limits during the whole process, but even the strongest walls can't completely keep out you from the risks that come from outside, contaminated people. Intruders who are determined may still try to get in your defenses. The stern idea of taking charge of what you can control comes into play for you. At this point in the conversation, even though you can't stop dangerous people from doing bad things, you can. One of the first things you can do to protect yourself is limit the time you spend with them. The idea behind this method is to spend less time with bad people when you can. Set a physical space. Would you be able to stay away from them completely? May be possible for you to change a lunch meeting or politely back out of something that is when this is being talked about. Keep in mind that this isn't about being rude, about keeping yourself safe in the same way that a strong leader wouldn't send his forces into a fight that wasn't necessary, and you shouldn't put yourself through negative that isn't necessary. Important, but sometimes it's not possible to stay away from something. There are times when bad people who work with you or are members of your family, close friends, and other people you know in some situations, it's important to keep an emotional distance. The following steps can help you do this. Epictetus and important Stoics say that freedom and happiness start with a clear mind. This quote by Epictetus shows how important it is to understand each other. Even though mental detachment is important, that doesn't mean there is emotional through participation you can understand someone else's pessimism. Mind detachment means separating yourself from something without letting it change how you feel. Watching their behavior without taking an interest in it and without getting attached to it. Cognitive reframing. People who are bad for you will often try to control your negativity. Cognitive reframing is a way to deal with bad thoughts. That is heavily inspired by Stoic ideas can be very helpful in this situation to change their pessimism. Changing the way you say something can turn it into an objective statement if a coworker keeps complaining about. You might change the way you look at the situation if they seem to be having a hard time. Instead of letting their bad mood bring you down. Toxic negativity feeds people, so it's important to think about the good things. Make a conscious effort to focus on the good things so they can't take away your happiness. Parts of your life, like the things you like doing for fun, the important work you do, and you can protect your emotions by having friends who are there for you. These good things, a safe place away from the bad things they bring there. When it comes to reducing your exposure, there is no such thing as being afraid. To protect your inner peace physically and mentally, and to practice taking care of yourself and being silent are both very important to them. Living a good life and making smart decisions when you lower the amount of you make room for bad people and situations, the more time you spend with them. To take care of a healthy and happy inner life, picture that the fortress is surrounded by a large ditch, which is both a physical barrier, also acts as a mental wall to keep your peace from increasing the bad things about poisonous people. 8. Get your help. 8. Set up your support system. For a moment, picture yourself as a guard at the door to your inner peace. Castle, you have added more walls and fences to make them stronger. You have also mastered the art of not reacting, and you've cut down on the number of harmful people you're around. But with how to fully defend their opinion, even the most brave warrior needs a strong faith, which is a group of people who you can trust. Friends and support system is your Stoic fan, which is an important part of making sure you keep your inner peace while you fight against. Rather than focusing on bad things, the Stoics, especially thinkers like Spinoza, these guiding principles put a lot of weight on how important it is to live in peace with nature. A group of good people who are there for you, giving you help, who motivate you, and who share your core values when things get tough. There is someone you can turn to for help and support. They will listen and give you good advice. One way that a strong support system might help is by giving constant care. Act as a shield against the harmful effects of poisonous people. As following the steps to deal with toxic people can be stressful. It can be tiring to not have a safe place to share, but you can make a safe place to analyze. Talk about your situations and how frustrated you are when you have trusted. You can tell your friends or family members about their understanding, and being compassionate can be a very important support system that helps you remember that you are not fighting this battle by themselves, and harmful people often take away are important to your sense of self-worth, but they can also be a great source of support and motivation. The method works as a counterforce, giving you support and reminding you of your skills and that what you give the world is valuable, and their trust in you can make your determination and bring back the fire that's inside you, especially in situations where negativity could put it out of business by being a good model and positive thinking. The Stoics believed that it was important to be around people who showed the personality traits that one wants to build a network of good people who will help them. Another person could be a good example that you can learn from. Grow by seeing the resilience, strength, and positive outlook that they have. This will help you improve your own ability to handle things with kindness. Building a strong network of support is a process that can help you get through tough times. Always goes on. To do this, you'll need to build relationships. Relationships that are already there, and look for people who share your values to grow this. Here are some ways to get beautiful phalanx. Spend some time setting them up. Setting aside time to have important conversations with the people who are helping you. May make a connection by telling them about your situations and hearing about theirs. Sharing your own by joining clubs, charity groups, or online. One great way, too, is to live in communities that share your interests and beliefs. Gather people who care about the same things you do. This place is full of people who care about the same things you do. It's important to have people in your life who can cheer you on naturally and give you support. Never forget how powerful it is to say thank you to people who help you. Please thank them for the positive impact they have on your health, and for they are in your life and will always be there for you. By building with strong Stoic phalanx, you can build a powerful shield that saves you. To look at things from the point of view of the harm that harmful people cause, you get a renewed sense of hope, happiness, and well-being. Never forget that even when you are surrounded by good people, even if your fortress is well protected, it might benefit from a strong defense. From the outside consists of your reliable friends, turns into your unwavering phalanx, making sure that your inner serenity stays safe and sound, safeguarded. Sanctuary number 9. Top priority 9. Put self-care first. Self-care. Getting in touch with dangerous people is like being faced with an unrelenting attack. You must use the mental energy that you have is running low, and you may feel tired as a result when it comes to protecting yourself from bad things. Self-care is just as important as being patient. As soon as a warrior got hurt, they would take care of their wounds and sharpen their weapons. Self-care should be a part of your Stoic way of life after a fight. Important part of your habit. Do it every day and think of it as an investment. For your mental health, make it a goal along with other important tasks and plan it into your plan. You can recharge your emotional tanks and your resistance. The following self-care tips can help you deal with depression better. Do things that make you happy. Find the things that really make you happy and can bring you joy. There are also physical routines that can help you relax, like yoga or running. As creative things like writing or drawing could fit under this, you can relax, recharge your mental batteries, and stay in this. When you take part in, you'll come back to the world with new energy and a fresh view. Become fully involved in these tasks, just like the Stoics did. Practices that were like meditation. These practices were also called meditation. If you practice meditation, you can clear your mind of bad thoughts and relax. By making meditation a regular part of your self-care routine, you give yourself a chance to calm down and find peace. A great way to deal with stress and bad moods, whether they are caused by you or other people. Poisonous to you. Find comfort in nature. The Stoics put a lot of weight on. In order to live in harmony with nature, you need to spend time in wild places, like on a walk in a park or a hike through the woods. Has a big effect on how we feel in general. To remember that you have limits instead of trying to tell them how to change. You should give them things that might make them think about themselves. And then you should try to help them with their problem, a book on how to talk to people well, a tip for a therapist, or even just a nice idea to look at This could include the results of what they did, based on when things go wrong. You can have the most impact on other people by following Stoic ideals in your being. A good example in your own life is the best way to lead by example. To serve as a vehement beacon and a memorial to the power of Stoicism, to change things ideas through your calm demeanor, quick answers, and unwavering stress on virtue. Sometimes, no matter how hard you try, a harmful person will continue to being stuck in their bad mood. It's important to know when to leave them in certain situations. In situations like these, Stoicism suggests setting limits and, if necessary, if you are pulling away from the situation to protect your own health, remember that you can choose your own road, but they can't change their route. If you really think about these ideas, you will change yourself. Shifting from an angry fixer to a calm facilitator means you can get help without putting your health at risk, and you can make an A. There is a garden that can grow well even though weeds are growing in other area. Number 12. When to leave. Imagine that you are looking for 12. When to leave. In the safety and peace of your stern castle of refuge, you've worked on your mental health, separation, and you've planted a healthy inner garden. You've also made your walls stronger by putting up boundaries. Nevertheless, no matter how hard you try, the negativity, that information that comes from a harmful person, is still a threat to your. Having protection means knowing when to pull away from a situation. Making the choice to leave a poisonous situation is a basic Stoic principle. It can be hard to decide whether to end a friendship, especially one with close family members or co-workers. Putting your emotional health first, on the other hand, is very hard to do. Very important. Stoics strongly believe in how important it is to living a good life, and acting logically in ways that are opposing these ideals is staying in a relationship that makes you feel bad about your own sense of being calm inside, which is why the Stoic theory fits with the practice of getting away from a dangerous scenario while staying calm. Sanctuary. Your inner peace is your holy sanctuary, a place where you can feel safe. Self-care, mindfulness, and Stoic habits can help you grow into a person who is. With their constant negativity, toxic people are like a persistent. You can protect your mental health and safety from the attack that is being put on your fortress. Get away from the setting where you're having a hard time and focus on what life is all about. As the great Stoic scholar Seneca said, valuable thing by saying that doubt is the key to the future. As soon as possible, live right away. Staying in a bad relationship is a don't waste this important time and energy. Instead, give yourself the chance to spend your money on important connections, activities, and pursuits that, when you move away, take care of your mind and make your life better. Give up whatever is stopping you and accept what is out of our control. Stoicism is based on being in charge of your own life and not caring about what other people do. A great example of this, and Stoicism also encourages detachment in this. Basically, deciding to leave something does not mean you are weak. Or rather than loss, acceptance means giving up on something you can't change. Change and a conscious decision to let go of bad feelings you are not. Instead of giving up on the person, you give up on the harmful dynamic. Getting over something that is bad for your body and mind is not a. If you have to make a quick decision, think about the following. Things like, have you tried every other possible response? Any experience with setting limits in conversation or giving sources? Is there a pattern of criticism that keeps happening? Or is it a specific? For example, do you think the link has a big effect for your own good? There doesn't have to be a big scene as you leave. The gradual loss of touch by politely declining invitations or just blocking contact are all methods that could be used to be. It's good to remember that getting away from a situation is a brave act. You can live a life that is peaceful and full of health by taking care of yourself. Peace, ethics, and good sense will guide you if you put your own health first. This will help you make room for good relationships and events. Number 13. Forgive yourself. Think about the following situation. 13th. Let yourself off the hook. A long trip is coming up, and you're carrying a heavy bag with you. That is filled with anger and hate toward a poisonous person. The weight of this being responsible slows you down, stops you from moving forward, and wears you out. In the Stoic view, forgiving someone means letting go of your energy, getting rid of one's mental baggage not for the other person but for one's own sake. The Stoics put a lot of weight on the importance of accepting things that are out of our control, with the acts of having other people serve as a good example of how to hold hate and anger toward someone who makes the world unsafe, falls clearly inside. Keeping these bad feelings will only make you feel worse in this area, harm tainting your present and making you doubt you're in the future. Stoic ideals will help you forgive yourself and set you free. Free yourself from the weight of bad things by doing the things below. In their inner world, the Stoics believe that power comes from being able to decide what you think and do instead of what other people do, or the things that happen in the outside world that help you take back control of your inner scenery and make room for. To find peace and mental health, you must first forgive yourself, and then let go. Let go of any anger you may still hold on to and find forgiveness in the Stoic. Understanding someone doesn't mean agreeing with what they're doing. Instead, it's about putting up with the actions of the poisonous person, taking responsibility for what happened, accepting that you couldn't change it, and deciding to move on with a lighter heart are all important things that the famous Stoic said. Marcus Aurelius, the emperor, says that you have control over your thoughts. Have control over things that happen to other people. Make this happen, and you will find your strength. Being able to forgive gives you the power to get this power back by finding a way to stop the cycle of negativity. And anger are prisons that you build for yourself if you keep holding on to it. The bad person will continue to hurt you. A break in this loop can be made even though they aren't there anymore by forgiving yourself. Will free you from the mental chains of the getting over the past, and forgiving yourself doesn't happen quickly. To help people forget, here are some things you can do. Music feelings. The first thing you need to do is name your anger and hurt. Hatred or anger that you feel when you push these feelings down. Self-compassion doesn't help you get better. It slows you down. Means giving yourself the same care and compassion that you would give to someone else, give to a friend who is going through the same thing you are. Not only are you a victim of, you are affected by their bad behavior, but you can also change it. To look at the event objectively by changing your point of view was, did the toxic person do it on purpose, or were there other factors at play that the situation, changing your point of view can help you understand and feel care for others. Gift is something that you give someone else, which can help them forgive you. Accept yourself as a gift you can give yourself every so often. Getting better and living a more fulfilling life by letting go of these things to feel bad. Pretend that you are going on a trip with a lighter backpack. That the adventures that are still to come make your heart lighter, and that you are ready for them. Of power and tranquility, you can stop being a passive victim and become a strong person. Of bad people into a strong warrior of your inner peace by following these 13 steps. Approaches that are based on the ideas of the Stoic philosophers remember that not having any bad things happen in your life is something you should fight for.